Watch therefore, and pray always, that you may be counted worthy to escape all these things that will come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. Luke 21:36. Welcome to the channel. We're reading the Bible in a year, and today is day number 256. Today we're beginning the book of Daniel in the Old Testament. This book covers the life of Daniel of the 600s BC, who lived during King Nebuchadnezzar II's reign, as well as King Cyrus's reign. God gave Daniel the ability to interpret dreams and visions. We'll be reading chapters 1 to 3 today. Chapter 1. Daniel taken to Babylon. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. The Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, with part of the vessels of the house of God, and he carried them into the land of Shinar to the house of his God, and he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God. The king spoke to Ashpenaz, the master of his officials, that he should bring some of the sons of Israel, and some of the king's descendants, and some of the nobles, youths in whom was no blemish, who were handsome and skillful in every branch of wisdom, and gifted with understanding and discerning knowledge, and such as had ability in them to serve in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the language of the Chaldeans. The king appointed them a daily provision of the king's food and of the wine which he drank. They were to be educated for 3 years, that at the end of it they might serve before the king. Now among them were of the sons of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, to whom the commander of the officials gave names. And he gave to Daniel the name of Belshazzar, to Hananiah, Shadrach, to Mishael, Meshach, and to Azariah, Abednego. But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with a portion of the king's food, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the master of the officials that he might not defile himself. Now God had brought Daniel into favor and compassion with the master of the officials. The master of the officials said to Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who has appointed your food and your drink. For why should he see your faces worse looking than the youths who are your age? Then you would endanger my head before the king. Then Daniel said to the steward, whom the master of the officials had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, Please test your servants for 10 days, and let them give us vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then let our countenances be looked upon before you, and the countenance of the youths who eat of the portion of the king's food, and as you see, deal with your servants. So he consented to them in this matter, and tested them for 10 days. At the end of 10 days, their countenances appeared fairer and fatter than all the youths who ate the portion of the king's food. Thus the guard continued to take away the portion of their food and the wine that they were to drink, and gave them vegetables. As for these 4 youths, God gave them knowledge and skill in every branch of learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all kinds of visions and dreams. Now at the end of the days that the king had set before them to be brought in, the master of the officials brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. The king spoke with them, and among them all none was found like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore they served before the king. In all matters of wisdom and understanding which the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in his realm. Daniel continued even to the 1st year of King Cyrus. Chapter 2. Nebuchadnezzar's Dream. And in the 2nd year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar had dreams, and his spirit was troubled, and his sleep left him. Then the king gave the command to call the magicians and the astrologers and the sorcerers and the Chaldeans to tell them, the king, his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. The king said to them, I have had a dream, and my spirit is anxious to understand the dream. Then the Chaldeans spoke to the king in Aramaic, O king, live forever. Tell your servants the dream, and we will tell the interpretation. The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, The command from me is firm. If you will not make known to me the dream with its interpretation, you shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a dunghill. But if you tell the dream and its interpretation, you shall receive from me gifts and rewards and great honor. Therefore tell me the dream and its interpretation." They answered again and said, "Let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will tell the interpretation." The king answered and said, "I know of certainty that you are bargaining for time, because you see the command from me is firm. If you will not make known to me the dream, there is but one decree for you. For you have agreed to speak lying and corrupt words before me until the circumstance is changed. Therefore tell me the dream, so that I know that you can tell me its interpretation." The Chaldeans answered before the king and said, "There is not a man on the earth who can tell the king's matter, inasmuch as no great king or ruler has ever asked such things of any magician or astrologer or Chaldean. Also, it is a rare thing that the king requires, and there is no one else who can tell it before the king, except the gods whose dwelling is not with flesh." For this cause the king was very angry and furious, and commanded to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. Therefore the decree went out that the wise men should be slain, and they sought for Daniel and his companions to be slain. Then Daniel answered with discretion and wisdom to Arioch, the captain of the king's guard, who had gone out to kill the wise men of Babylon. He answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, "Why is the decree from the king so urgent?" Then Arioch made the thing known to Daniel. Then Daniel went in and desired of the king that he would give him time in order that he could tell the king the interpretation. Then Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, so that they might ask for compassion from the God of heaven concerning the secret, so that Daniel and his companions might not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. God reveals Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Then the secret was revealed to Daniel in a night vision. Then Daniel blessed the God of heaven. Daniel answered and said, "Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. It is he who changes the times and the seasons. He removes kings and sets up kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who know understanding. He reveals the deep and secret things. He knows what is in the darkness, and the light dwells within him. I thank and praise you, O God of my fathers, for you have given me wisdom and might, and have made known to me now what we asked of you, for you have made known to us the king's matter." Daniel interprets the dream. Therefore Daniel went in to Arioch, whom the king had ordained to destroy the wise men of Babylon. He went and said to him, "Do not destroy the wise men of Babylon. Bring me in before the king, and I will tell the king the interpretation." Then in haste Arioch brought Daniel before the king and said thus to him, "I have found a man of the captives of Judah who can make known to the king the interpretation." The king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, "Are you able to make known to me the dream which I have seen and its interpretation?" Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said, "The secret which the king has demanded, the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, and the soothsayers cannot tell the king. But there is a God in heaven who reveals secrets and makes known to King Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Your dream and the visions of your head upon your bed are these. As for you, O king, your thoughts came into your mind upon your bed about what would come to pass hereafter, and he who reveals secrets makes known to you what shall come to pass. But as for me, this secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any living man, but for the purpose of making known the interpretation to the king, and that you might understand the thoughts of your heart." You, O king, were watching, and there was a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before you, and its form was awesome. This image's head was of fine gold, its breast and its arms of silver, its belly and its thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, its feet partly of iron and partly of clay. You watched until a stone was cut out without hands, which struck the image upon its feet, which were of iron and clay, and broke them to pieces. Then the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold were broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of a summer threshing floors. And the wind carried them away, so that not a trace of them was found. But the stone that struck the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth. This was the dream. Now we will tell its interpretation before the king. You, O king, are the King of kings, for the God of heaven has given you a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. Wherever the sons of men dwell, or the animals of the field, or the fowl of the heavens, he has given them into your hand, and has made you ruler over them all. You are the head of gold. After you, another kingdom inferior to you shall arise, and a third kingdom of bronze, which shall rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for iron breaks in pieces and shatters everything. And like iron that crushes, it shall crush and shatter all these. As you saw, the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. But there shall be in it some of the strength of the iron, inasmuch as you saw the iron mixed with miry clay. As the toes of the feet were partly of iron and partly of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. Whereas you saw iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave to one another, even as iron does not mix with clay. In the days of these kings, the God of heaven shall set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to another people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Inasmuch as you saw that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it broke in pieces the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great God has made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter. And the dream is certain, and its interpretation sure. The promotion of Daniel. Then King Nebuchadnezzar fell upon his face and did homage to Daniel, and commanded that they should present an offering and sweet incense to him. The king answered Daniel and said, Truly, your God is a God of gods, and a Lord of kings, and a revealer of secrets, since you could reveal this secret. Then the king advanced Daniel and gave him many great gifts, and made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon, and chief of the governors over all the wise men in Babylon. Then Daniel requested of the king, and he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon. But Daniel sat at the court of the king. Chapter 3. The Image of Gold. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold, whose height was 60 cubits, and its width 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura, in the province of Babylon. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king sent to gather together the officials, the governors, and the captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. Then the officials, the governors, and captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces were gathered together to the dedication of the image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up, and they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then a herald cried aloud, To you it is commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages, that at the time you hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, dulcimer, and all kinds of music, you shall fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king has set up. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall the same hour be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. Therefore at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and all kinds of music, all the peoples, the nations, and the languages fell down and worshipped the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. The fiery furnace. Therefore at that time certain Chaldeans came near and accused the Jews. They spoke and said to King Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. You, O king, have made a decree that every man who hears the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music should fall down and worship the golden image. And whoever does not fall down and worship should be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom you have set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not regarded you. They do not serve your gods or worship the golden image which you have set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be brought. Then they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spoke and said to them, Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the golden image which I have set up? Now if you are ready at the time you hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, to fall down and worship the image which I have made, very well. But if you do not worship, you shall be cast the same hour into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is that God who can deliver you out of my hands? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to give you an answer in this matter. If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But even if he does not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods, nor worship the golden image which you have set up. Protection in the fiery furnace. Then Nebuchadnezzar was full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Therefore he spoke and commanded that they should heat the furnace 7 times more than it was usually heated. He commanded the most mighty men in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their trousers, their coats, and their hats, and their other garments, and were cast in the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire killed those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished, and rose up in haste, and spoke, and said to his counselors, Did we not cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said to the king, True, O king. He answered and said, But I see 4 men loose and walking in the midst of the fire, and they are unharmed, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. Nebuchadnezzar praises God. Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace and spoke, and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, you servants of the Most High God, come out and come here. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out of the midst of the fire. The officials, governors, and captains, and the king's counselors, being gathered together, saw these men upon whose bodies the fire had no power, nor was a hair of their head singed. Neither were their coats changed, nor had the smell of fire even come upon them. Then Nebuchadnezzar spoke and said, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants, who trusted in him. They have defied the king's word, and yielded their bodies, that they might not serve nor worship any god except their own God. Therefore I make a decree that every people, nation, and language which speaks anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made a dunghill, because there is no other God who can deliver in this way. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. We have just read Daniel chapters 1 to 3. Tomorrow we'll get into chapters 4 through 8. I can't wait. If you've come to this channel and you don't know Jesus as your Lord and Savior, consider his claim in John 14:6. Jesus answered, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. The gospel of our salvation can be found in 1 Corinthians 15, 1 to 4. Why not check it out yourself? Goodbye for now.